From Nathan's view. Wow. Wow. Cat-like reflexes.
Oh goodness, Sebastian Coffre, another mistake for him, and he is a sitting duck down the front stretch here with the double draft here for Overbay and Ritters. Are they going to make it 3 wide? Ritters goes for it on Overbay, while Overbay goes for it on Coffre. Up the inside, coming into Doohan corner, and Coffre might have to yield here. He's already lost the place to Overbay. He's going to switch to the outside and try and widen the entry to keep Ritters behind him. Looks like he is going to do that. Late apex, and that will work out all right for Sebastian Coffre, but it's slim pickings at the moment for the number 28.
Things are leaning more and more heavily towards Partanen now that we've hit the halfway point for the season. Nearly 100 markers separate the two Finns at the top. The Tollanen's 2 no-shows will be helped by the drop weeks later on. Will Montreal force some to use their own drop weeks with its walls ready to grab those who tread an inch over the limit? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is another venue that actually did see the Lotus 79 compete on it in the real world. Let's head to our track guide to see what the modern version is like, though. Welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Host of the Canadian Grand Prix for over 40 years, this track's popularity among fans refuses to wane. Although it has gone through a few alterations in its history, the nature of its layout has remained pretty much the same. That nature, of course, is that its 14 turns are mostly chicanes, split up by long straights to add up to a 2.7-mile street course-like canyon of a track. These 4.3 kilometers are mainly made up of actual streets on the man-made Ile Notre Dame, though portions are specifically built for the racetrack. But whether or not fans consider it a true street course, the close barriers that line the majority of the track don't care what you think. Places like the exit of Turn 4 and Turn 9 frequently collect the greedy. But these pale in infamy to the notorious Wall of Champions. Named for its penchant to collect F1 World Champions, the corner itself is called Quebec. Regardless, it's a finicky and tight chicane with a critical corner exit, so drivers are tempted into edging the car as close as they dare to the concrete. Despite the numerous heavy braking zones, passing can be difficult at times for certain types of cars. Often, attrition or cut course penalties play a bigger part in who finishes where. While sports cars and NASCAR have both made stops here, this place is mainly known for its history with Formula One. Named after what is easily Canada's most popular driver in the International Open Wheel Series, this semi-temporary circuit looks like it's actually here to stay for a long, long time. Well, there you see a little bit about this place, but here with the Lotus 79s, this is going to be quite the task and maybe a little bit frantic for our drivers, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly is, Joe. These chicanes are going to come at you very, very quickly, and drivers are going to have to be on their toes from the drop of the green flag. Watch for some maybe potential overtakes going down into the Senna S and down into the hairpin, as well as down into that chicane before the Wall of Champions. And do not be surprised if a couple of drivers maybe slap into that wall. Very easy to get the rear end stepping out a little bit and getting a little bit too squirrely there.
Well, right now, it's been very heavily in favor of Partanen, as I mentioned. If we take a look at the driver's standings, a full 99 points over Jukka Tolvanen. Paul Williams and Gernot Friesche, as well as Michael de Turk, are pretty close together and actually not that far behind Jukka. They've all been relatively consistent. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see Michael for the rest of the season. We'll talk about that more later. And then from then on down, things kind of separate. We have a good battle for 7th. Of course, we also have a team's championship. And how does that sit here, DJ?
Well, in that team's championship, it's Marlboro team McLaren holding the way by about 28 points with Ligier Gitanes about 3 points back from them. Very close there for third, running on down Equip Renault Elf and Olympus Cameras Wolf Racing, all within striking distance. Equip Renault and Ligier Gitanes actually tied there for third. In 6th, you can see their Shadow Racing team, Candy Team Tyrrell, everybody working their way down, pretty much equidistant apart from there on back.
As for today's race details, we have 29 laps that we'll be running, and it is, as usual, open setup for this one, and no spare car. With the walls so close around the track, you have to imagine that's going to come into play if anybody gets any sort of damage that hampers the handling of it. They also have a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25 out here today. It's a little hot for Canada, at least on the track surface itself, DJ. It's about 101 Fahrenheit for our drivers today.
Yeah, a little bit toasty, and that just means that there's going to be some decreased grip out on track for these drivers. They're certainly going to have to make sure that they really, really work a little bit more to keep these tires under temperature.
And often we'll talk about the off tracks here in terms of the cut course penalties as Partanen takes the first time and has provisional pole. But we have Michael de Turk actually with us right now as he is playing a little bit of a pit reporter for us today. And Michael, one thing that concerns me here is that the cut courses are not simply going to be a case of if you cut a little close. These things do not like these curbs. So if you're going to cut the course, you're going to have to make a huge cut.
Yeah, especially going into the Wall of Champions chicane, you got to be careful cutting there. There's those couple of sausage curbs, and even if you miss them, you can still pick up underbody damage pretty easily there. And then it's a matter of safely trying to rejoin as your opponents are sliding through that chicane and trying to accelerate down to that first corner.
Yeah, so hopefully we won't see too many big issues, but Partanen still holds that provisional pole after most of our drivers have come around for the first lap. Jukka Tolanen's not taking a second one, though. He sits P2 on the timing sheets. Mikko Leno is currently in the third spot, a mere 300ths behind, rather, I should say. So Partanen brings his number one down along the Casino Straight and through the Wall of Champions chicane to the timing line. Can he improve? It does look like it's going to be slightly quicker for him. A 24.5 is about a tenth faster. And let's see who else can match it, DJ.
Well, let's see indeed who is able to do anything. Lino looks like he's not able to get anything there. Kortenemi waiting for a time to be put down. Topi Kortenemi with a P2 time. They're only about 2.5 of a second off of Paulie Partanen.
Yeah, he's returned recently and shown himself to be quite fast, so he hasn't missed a beat as Pablo Suarez finally comes across and is only good enough for a 27.1. He gets one more lap, and he should have enough time for that. We're waiting on Freckleton, Vaughn, and Meyer to set a time. Now, you'll see a name in here that is also not set a time yet, named Auntie T. That is actually Andy T. But a Smurf account for him. So somehow he has managed to get himself a Finnish account, and that is complete with the Finnish name. So I guess he really is an honorary Finn here in that Raccoon Racing team as Timothy Vaughn crosses, and looks like his final lap is going to be good enough for a 9th. That was critical because he missed his first one, DJ.
Yeah, indeed, and pretty easy to pick up one of those off tracks around here, whether it's just a quick little clip into the wall like we talked about earlier, or maybe just running a little bit too close onto the chicanes. Ove Trangarade, though, 9th place. Ove's qualifying hasn't been great as of recently. 9th place would be a pretty good start for him, but let's see if he can improve on that time.
Ove been having some wild races lately in the 49s and the Camel GT series. See if this one lives up to that standard that he's certainly been setting for himself. He certainly likes a wild car, and maybe we should just start calling him the Wild Man as he approaches the line for that second lap. And it's not going to count, unfortunately. Had an off track somewhere. Pablo Suarez finished his second lap, and he improved to a 26.9, but he stays in 18th. In the meantime, here's Dylan Freckleton finishing the last straight to the line, holding it to the right-hand side to shorten it, and it's a 25.5. Big jump for Dylan. He is up to 11th.
Yeah, it's a good run there for Freckleton, just outside the top 10. Barry West going to come to the line. Looks like that's not going to be improvement, so Barry will be starting down in 19th. It looks like Andy, or Auntie, as however we want to decide to call him, not going to be putting a qualifying time down here today.
Tolan's gone back out, but he can't settle lap since he messed up his second one. That means our grid is now set, and Partanen is on the pole. Can he make it a 5th win out of 7? Topi Korteniemi will start from 2nd with Jukka Tolanen in 3rd. Mikko Leno will start from 4th. It's Kimmo Viekainen in 5th place. Kevin Honorato in the 6th spot is followed by Paul Williams in 7th, and Karthik Pai, who has been on a good run lately, will start from 8th. Ove Trangrade only good enough for 9th as Timothy Vaughn rounds out your top 10.
It's going to be Dylan Freckleton in 11th, followed by Sergio Fernandez with Josoko Lakota in 13th, and Timothy Reed in 14th. Nathan Finnegan will be 15th, followed by Pep Meyer with Mike Rasmus and Pablo Suarez behind them. Barry West is 19th, and Auntie T will round out your 20-car field.
All right, so they head over to that gridding session. Before we get going, Michael, one of the talking points here, it's a lot of chicanes where it can often be hard to pass. How important is track position going to be today?
Oh, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge, but it's also Montreal, so you know that people are going to be running a very, very small amount of downforce, and you know the car is going to be really, really loose coming out of the hairpin and the chicanes. So getting the traction down and getting the car actually moving forward rather than having a fun drift session is going to be really difficult. Those first couple laps with getting the tires up to temp, I think you're going to see those couple of people that have a little bit more downforce, like maybe Pauly or Miko, are going to excel. But then after that, it's going to start moving towards the guys that have, you know, the Yuka rockets with absolutely no wing and jacked up ride height.
Well, we'll keep an eye on those, see who is doing what out there today, and many of them taking a bit of time to grid up. I wonder if they're making those last little tweaks after being in the practice, the warm-up here and the qualifying, to get a real feel for what the weather conditions are going to be with those hot temps on the track surface itself. And we're still missing a good third of the field. Andy has decided he is going to start from the back intentionally. So that is him wanting to try and make a run through the field, with this being an alternate account for him. Obviously, his iRating not that big of a worry. And we're still waiting on the left-hand side of our first 3 rows, who have decided to give it until the last moment here today for round number 7. But Partanen, will he have it his own way, or will Tolanen finally strike back? We'll find out soon, because they are all gridded up. The engines now start to rev as the lights come up, and the green flag is out off the line. Kortaniemi is great off of there and immediately covering him off. Partanen tries to squeeze him off to the outside, but look at deep on the brakes. Here comes the likes of, is that Tolanen actually? No, Tolanen on Kortaniemi. Yes, he is managing to get into second place, just about down into the next couple corners, but they're going to come together, and he's on his lid and off immediately. Kortaniemi is also off. Partanen has free reign at the front.
Indeed, he does, Joe, and that was just a little bit of contact there in between the 2 wheel-to-wheel contacts, sending Tolanen and Kortaniemi off into the runoff area.
It was aggressive from all of them, but I didn't see anything untoward. I'm a bit shocked that it came to that in the first lap and only the first couple corners. But look at the gap that Partanen is taking from that. Mikko finds himself promoted into second place, and Viekainen is now into third. And it looks like Timothy Vaughn had a bit of an off track in the back. He's having to go slow to let everybody by. What a shakeup here. And it looks like the battle is still very much on for third, because Viekainen has Paul Williams all over him.
Yes, he does. Paul really starting to poke his nose this way and that, seeing if there's anything to be had. He's now going to tuck up behind in the slipstream down this long run by the rowing canal, waiting to see a little bit of a poke from behind there from Kartik Pai as well, but they'll stay single file down into the chicane.
Newcomer Honorato had a bit of a slowdown, not an official one, but just got checked up into the last corner, and it looks like he's under attack from Pies. We're going to take another look at this incident. Just drifts over a little bit, and they interlock wheels, and unfortunately, that's the last thing you want in open wheelers.
Yeah, especially with these big rear tires like that, plenty of room to be set up like that. They're frankly lucky that they were able to continue on there for Kortaniemi and that nothing worse happened to him.
You can still see the fight here, not just for third place, but also for fifth, with Pai having gotten by Honorato, but he's still got a challenge from behind him, as it looks like falling off the back of Honorato, of Viekainen rather. Williams not able to make a dent, so we jump back to Honorato. Club Iberia still challenging on the Texan. In fact, he's got a very good run. Could have a look up the inside down into Lepengol, but he has decided not to. So they accelerate on down the Casino Straight. Will we get another bite, DJ?
I think we may get a little bit of a look at it there, as drivers both just trying to suck up behind that draft as much as possible. A little bit of a poke to the inside there for Paul Williams. Farther of a fade, but he's not going to go for it here quite yet. Maybe just setting up to get a move down into the Senna S.
Oh, but that was a bad exit for Karthik once again. And Honorato is going to be right on top of him there in the background. In fact, he's going to look to the inside, coming down into the opening chicane. The Senna S might offer a chance to complete the pass. He's going to have to do it the long way around. He finds the grip somehow and accelerates away. That was brilliant stuff.
That was absolutely fantastic stuff there from Akima. We're really being able to hold that out.
Yeah, from Kevin there, just really on it. But in front of them, it looks like the 16's got some damage. Michael, I see you've been looking at that. What's going on here?
Yeah, it looks like Kimo got a little bit into the back of Miko on the second turn of lap 1, and unfortunately it's bent his wing up pretty badly, and that's, you know, on a straight line course like Montreal, it's really going to hurt him. I think he's just going to fall back through the order.
As the 16 tries his hardest to fend off Paul Williams. Williams actually gets to the inside, but that shorter run also means less grip cranking the wheel, and he does not get the exit that he wants, so he falls back once again. Kimo's doing a good job defending at this stage. How long can he hold him off? And yeah, we can see from here that is some severe damage on the front of that machine. An update on Andy, he is up to 11th already and slicing through the field.
Yeah, indeed, he is. This is going to be Josué Lakota right in front of him as he's going to get a good run there out of the final chicane, going to jink his way to what will be the inside of the Senna S. Later on the brakes is Andy. Move done and dusted.
Nicely done. Also had a great fight behind them between Rasimas and Finnegan. In fact, they're being joined by a couple others, it looks like. Suarez and Barry West getting mighty close as we watch these three down into turn 6. That is Kimo having to do a lot of defense now. Williams, not only the one getting close, Kevin in the 14 starting to approach. And Michael, you've been in these situations a lot where you're kind of one of those top 5 runners, but when the podium has an issue, you're there to pick up the pieces, and these guys are hungry for this.
Well, I thought you were talking about when you pick up damage on lap 1 and then you have to defend the whole race, but we can do the other version. No, it's you know, it is a matter of trying to stay out of trouble, and hopefully you do get to pick up the pieces. I mean, that's how I picked up that win at VIR last year, which, you know, or last season, which unfortunately was the front couple having an issue with Timu trying to give Andy the hug of death, and Paulie unfortunately having that off. But it's so difficult when you get to that point and you get to the front after those other guys have had the issue, and then your nerves start to ramp up and you go, oh man, I'm going to get a podium on Sunday, and you start to lose your frame of reference, you get excited, and then you're just suddenly on your back foot, and you've got this train of 3 or 4 cars behind you that you're trying to hold off for 22 laps.
That's where I'm sure that the Finnish cool-headedness would be a skill that we all wish we could have, but we watch from on board with Paul Williams. I do love the helmet that Paul is rocking, and I'm not sure if I just haven't noticed it up until now, but you see an homage there to both Graham Hill and Damon Hill. This is a very good exit from him out of turn 7 along the river. Kimo's going to go defensive. He's going to force him to go the long way around, and then he drifts right back to the racing line. And certainly that Pruitt fade being used well by the 16.
You took the words right out of my mouth there, Joe. That was just a good heads up from Kimo, and you can start to see here a little bit of a train starting to form behind him. I definitely think Paul called this right, that this is going to be a little bit of a slowdown for him. Drivers just need to try to get on by.
Still quite early in this race. There will be chances, no doubt, especially if they start to come upon traffic, lap traffic rather. They are only 20 cars in this split because we have split, so there's one other that is racing right now. And this looks like Kevin might have a good opportunity as he sizes up the 11. The red car approaches coming into the Senna S, but decides not to try and outbrake, and they'll sit back.
Yeah, he'll sit back and have to wait, and that's one of the things that's a little bit surprising around Canada. You take a look at it and you think that there would be plenty of opportunities to really be able to get a pass done. Oh!
Honorado spins it out of turn 5. Thankfully does not wind up in the racing line, but now he's kind of stuck, I think. Oh, he's coming back through, finally finds an opening. Let's take a look. Just goosed a little too hard, maybe?
Yeah, I think goosed a little bit too hard, a little bit of rear tire spin there. This is the point when these tires are starting to fade a little bit. Granted, they are made to be running the entire race long, but you can overheat them a little bit, especially with track temperatures as hot as they are, still 102 degrees Fahrenheit.
It also looked like he cut the apex just a little bit on the second part of the turn and just grabbed just a hair of grass.
It's so easy to do here, trying to get greedy. As we come back to Pye, now fighting with Dylan Freckleton instead. I do want to give a quick note that Topi Kortaniemi has gotten back out on track, and here's some side-by-side with Kimo and Williams. Is Williams finally got it? Yes, he does. It took him many laps of trying, but eventually the door was open enough that he could step through. So that's third place for the 11, and just behind, we're going to have another battle down into the first corner. Instead of on the attack, it's the defense for Freckleton. That is Timothy Reed, who we ride on board with.
Yeah, that was a good defense there. Just a little later braking, going down into the Senna S. That should bide him some time. Let's see now if Timothy Reed's going to be able to keep up that pressure on the entire lap. It certainly seems to think like he is. Kimo now going to be running behind, and that train is going to be starting to form again.
Another one around in the same spot, this time Finnegan in the 17 car. Trying to see if it was the same thing. We'll get a look at it here on the replay. I don't know, what do you think, Michael? Same deal, just a little curve, a little too hard on the throttle?
Let's see. Yeah, just a little too much inside curb. It's really easy to just get that inside tire spun up on that inside curb as you lift the chassis a little bit, and it just loads up and just spins you out.
Oh, my goodness. Kimo is not done with his worries because Karthik Pai has caught him very, very quick. And in fact, there is the speed difference with a clean nose. And he is going to be through behind him. Another pass as well as Reed goes by on Freckleton. And guess who's coming to dinner? It's Andy T.
Oh, Andy's already been able to get his way up to 8th. He is so close behind Dylan. Is he going to have a big send down into the Senna S? Ooh, just going to let that little battle take place in front of him. No!
There goes Freckleton. Yeah, I think it was a good idea for Andy to pull out of that. I don't think Freckleton was aware that Andy was there on the move, and they almost went 3 wide, but it all worked out for the 10 car, who is now up into 7th with that one. Let's take another glance.
Yeah, and there you can see just off a little bit. I'm not sure if there was some definite netcode ghost contact there, unfortunately, for Freckleton.
Wow, that unfolded very quickly. It seems to be a bit of a theme here, Michael, is it seems like things are going okay for a lot of drivers until they don't.
I feel like you just summed up Lotus 79 in a nutshell. Everything is great until you lose that little bit of downforce, and then you're dead.
And coming off the corner, Kimo spinning up the tires a little bit as well. Well, he won't lose out to Freckleton at least, but then Reed is still trying to play catch up. And then, of course, we can't forget about Andy T. He made the comment to us that back to start for the win. Not sure if he meant the internet phrase is he's going to be able to get by on Reed here of the FTW acronym, or if he actually literally means he's going to go for the win. He's about 12 seconds off the lead right now.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Nobody's really been able to close down on Mikolaino and Paulie Partsinen, who have been running a race unto themselves here. But if anybody's got that speed, it's going to be Andy T. Now, he's still got about 3 cars to be able to get up away. As here is the latest in the back of that train that we've really continued to follow. Sergio Fernandez getting a little bit pulled along here by Andy T. Timothy Reed in between the two.
Yeah, Sergio's been a bit of the forgotten driver in this group. We've been talking about everybody in front of him, but not him. And now he's promoted up to 8th, keeping things safe. I wondered if attrition would play a role in today's race, and drivers just have to keep it safe, pick them off one by one as everybody else gets damaged, spins, or gets those slowdown penalties. So far, Sergio up 4. Of course, that gets eclipsed by T's 14 position gain. And then in front of him, Timothy Reed up 7. Well, that goes down the drain, unfortunately.
And that, I think, is just a little bit of a putting down the power a little bit too early, coming through that hairpin, just spinning those rear tires. We'll head back to the GSRC replay to take a look.
This is proving a really tough track today. Oh, yeah, he sent that in way too hot and got a little bit of touch. So I'm actually impressed that everybody else behind him managed to avoid on one side or the other.
I was amazed that Sergio got through that without picking up any damage. Well done, really well done.
Great stuff. Viakainen already passed by Pi. Now Andy is there. We hop on board with the honorary Finn today, coming out of the 3 and 4 sequence, and then into 5. Swift, blind right-hander into the braking. Is not going to try it here yet, DJ.
No, it's really, really hard to try to get a pass done down into there because you're putting so much lateral load through the tires that you've really just got to focus on braking. But here comes the move on Chemo. He's going to dump down to the inside. I think Chemo sees that coming. He's going to let Andy on by.
And all this is being done with a little bit of bent front left wing. So he's clearly got pace today. Wonder how fast he'd be without that. His quickest lap is a 26.2. Partanen, though, has ran a 25.9 up in front of them. So let's see whether or not he can cut that down even more. It's gapped to about 13.3 seconds behind Partanen. So for now, he's not catching, but he still has many laps to go. Ove Trangrade, in the meantime, is now trying to overtake Freckleton, and much better straight line speed here, DJ, for the 12 car.
Yeah, it looks like he's just got that car a little bit trimmed out more, as that would tend to be the case. We know Ove likes to run a little bit more of a rocket ship at a straight line.
Freckleton's not giving up on it. He shows himself in his mirrors, but he's going to have to back out by the time they get to the Senna S. This is quite a stacked field. A lot of big names. Obviously, Freckleton, Partanen, Andy T, Karthik Pai. These guys are no slouches, so this is a stacked top split that we have here today. And coming down into turn 6, once again, Freckleton closing, but just can't seem to get near enough. They've also got Rasimas back that you kind of see flashes of coming through the screen in the 8 car.
Yeah, and he is not a slouch either. And frankly, a little bit surprised to see Mike as far down as he is. He is a very, very accomplished Lotus 79 driver out there today. But he's just slowly but surely trying to pick his way through the field.
So Chemo's fallen to 6 after starting in 5th, gaining a few positions at the start, and has now lost one. Fernandez still trying to catch up to him, but doesn't seem to have about the same pace as Chemo through the final chicane and past the wall of champions, giving it plenty of room to the outside, I have to say. Maybe not wanting to risk the car at this stage, especially not being in a fight with anybody for the time being. And finally, it starts to settle in a bit. Not seeing much in the way of battles, unless you go towards the back where Pep Meyer, well, he was in a fight. He just had a big off, actually, in the 20 car. And that was Kevin Honorado, who's flying back through the field that overtook him just now.
Yeah, Honorado down 8 positions right now. He's going to be eager to try to recover those spots. And I think that's a little bit of what we were seeing earlier on, Joe, is some drivers just not able to get a good qualifying time down. And now that the field has sort of settled into that area, drivers starting to relax a little bit. These temperatures really starting to, frankly, scare them a little bit. You're not wanting to push too hard on these tires, overheat them, as it were.
So I'm kind of curious with this damage on the front of Chemo, Michael. We've often talked about here in the booth that, oh, you know, he's going to lose downforce or he's going to lose straight line speed. But I've heard all kinds of mixed stories from drivers that actually drive this car frequently. What does the front wing damage do on this car?
For the most part, it increases drag. I mean, that's the real, like, end game telltale, is you're just so slow in a straight line. Does it affect the balance? Sure, of course it does. I mean, we talk all the time about how a lot of the downforce, most of the downforce, is from the tunnels underneath the car, and that's true. But it does change the balance. You are more inclined to, if you have that little bit of front wing damage, you're going to lose some of that front end grip, and you're more inclined to loosen up the front ARB. On the other hand, if you loosen up the anti-roll bar, you're going to change the balance of the car in a significant way. So it just generally just becomes harder and harder to drive, and it's really easy to start overdriving the car out of frustration.
Well, let's see whether or not Chemo falls victim to that, but we've headed back to Timothy Vaughn. This is Leo Cotta just in front of him, and he's going to go defensive along the river towards the braking of turn 8, but does not have to fully cover him off as they stay single file. Pretty good exit from Timothy, and the 13 maybe having a tack down into Lapingle.
He's certainly going to think about it a little bit, going to take that wider outside line. Now, that's not going to get him a move there, but it is going to give him a nice little bit of over-under, able to get on the power a little bit earlier because of that wider line. And here comes the drag down long past the rowing canal. Here comes Timothy Vaughn. He's going to shoot to the outside.
All the way to the inside, and there's a lift. So Leocada decides he doesn't want any more of that. The damage has been done. Let's give way and try to finish our race. And that's on to lap 14. So that's halfway through now, and they're on the other side of the hill. So far, where has Andy wound up? Oh, he's gotten by Pi. Not sure if we covered that. He's up into fourth now. So podium looking very feasible for the 10 car.
Yeah, very feasible indeed. He's only got about 1.2 seconds back to Paul Williams. And on that last lap, he was about 9/10 of a second faster than Paul. So I certainly think a podium could be on the cards. Now, from Paul up to Michelino, that's about 8.5 seconds as of right now. That may be a little unattainable for Andy, but he's certainly got the pace to be able to get into that third.
Probably keep an eye on that as things carry on. But I wonder if we could go back to Freckleton, because he and Ove Trangrade are still quite close. And they've also still got Rasimas in there, who we mentioned earlier is basically just kind of clinging to the back. They come into Lepingle, all of them getting off the left-hand side. Open it up, and there's a spinner in front of them. That is Leocada. So not only has he lost a spot due to a pass, unfortunately, he's going to spin it up and give 3 away immediately.
Indeed he is. Let's watch and see what happens. This is him closing down on the back, tries to take a little bit of a look to the outside, to the inside rather. Oh, was there contact? There was contact.
So he lost 5 actually, as a battle just went by him as well. And we're going to watch from on board the Italian, see if we can tell, because it looked very, very close. I wonder if he just cranked too much wheel into it and it turned him the rest of the way. Nope, you're right. That was contact.
Yeah, he did send that in. I think that was a little bit of an over-aggressive of a maneuver there, just a little bit far back. He was always going to either run a little bit wide at the apex or find himself pinched off. As we jump back here, this is Sergio Fernandez back in 7th, Chemo right up ahead of him.
And that Finn has got to be cursing himself for making that contact so early in this race. It has made it so difficult to try and keep everybody behind. He's done his darndest to manage it, but it's just too difficult. Is down the inside of Ove Trangrade. Freckleton now takes 9th place away, and it's going to be 2 positions and just 2 corners as Trangrade cannot get the launch off of turn 9. Here comes Rasimas on past, but he has to go around the outside of Lepingle, looking for the throttle, but looks a little too much, spins up the rears, and now he starts to pull away.
Now it's going to be a drag race here as he's going to go in there, but Ove Trangrade, who likes to have that more trimmed out car, he's going to be closing down. He's going to have a look down to the inside of the chicane. It's going to be a battle of the late breakers, Joe.
The wild man is not going to allow him past. Oh, but a good cutback. Great move by Mike in the number 8. He is going to be able to re-overtake the position. And here we have a pass. I believe that is Andy T. Yes, T has gotten into 3rd.
Good run there from Andy. He's already up into those podium positions, and now he's got about 13 or 14 laps to go to try to close down on Michelino. Looking at lap times, only about 0.3 of a second faster on that last lap, so he's going to have a whole lot of work to do, but he's going to have a whole lot of clear track in front of him to try to do it.
Back to Rasimas once again. He's still fighting with Trangrade, but because they have slowed each other up so much, well, here comes Kevin Autorado behind them. Great run from Mike down to the inside, but then decides against it.
Yeah, he's going to think a little bit better about it. Ooh, big slides there behind from Rasbas and Honorado, both coming out of that final chicane sequence. We ride on board with the Iberian driver now, piloting it down through Lepingle, seeing what he's got. Little bit of overcorrection there.
Down the rowing straight once again as our drivers pick up speed. Immense speeds here, 170 miles an hour. Nearly 175 by the time they hit the brakes, but none of them able to jump out and attack quite yet.
No, it's a little bit of the waiting game here. You've got to wait for a mistake from the driver ahead of you. You can't really force the issue too much, especially in these 79s. There we go, Rasmus. You can see they're taking a little bit of a wider line through the corner, trying to find a little bit of an edge. Not really seeing it right now on Ove, but definitely filling that rearview mirror of Ove.
And something seems to have happened to Timothy Reed, because he's now in pit lane recently within the last minute. I'm checking to see if I can find out what happened. I think he had a wreck, actually. Yeah, he had a problem coming through turn 9, and he smacked the wall. I think we may have found it.
All right, so this is coming down out of the hairpin, runs a little bit wide. Ooh,
that was earlier.
Yeah.
This was pretty recent, within the last 3 minutes, and it was into turn 9, so... Yep, there it is right there. Oh, big damage. Well, yeah, when both rears are off the track, I'd say that's big damage. I'm not sure how he moved that car forward, frankly, but, more power to you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes miracles can happen, but massive damage there. And it just goes to show you, you have got to be on your game around the Circuit de Villeneuve constantly. It will always be willing to come out and bite you. Little bit of a move there in the back. That's Honorado trying to get something on Trangarade.
Kevin still having to do a lot of work, and this is just to finally reach the top 10 as he goes side by side through the Senna S, but he's having a tough time with Ove and Mike. Actually, this is helping out the number 8 quite a bit as he is distancing himself from this duo, and great defense from Ove down into turn 3.
Yeah, very stout defense. Nothing too aggressive there, just sticking to the racing line, making Mike go the long way around here, really trying to push this.
Little bit of banging wheels, I think slight bit of net code between them, but that was enough to unsettle Ove, and Kevin is now past. It's only so long that you can get away fighting that close with one another before you get into trouble.
Yeah, exactly. This semi-permanent road course, Joe, very tight at points. You bang wheels like that. That is not what you want to have happen. That is a one-way ticket to damage. And now, as you can see, all that has allowed a little bit for drivers to start to close back in behind.
This has got to be very unnerving to Michael, I have to imagine, where series that are mainly European drivers or mainly North American drivers, you can kind of expect netcode to behave well. But when you're going across the pond, that's got to be a little bit tense, knowing that could go wrong at any moment.
I feel like you just have to check and, pre-race, I hate to say it, but you need to look, see what server farm you're on and have an understanding of who you're going to race closely. I mean, most of these guys are the same people you race every single week, so you get used to it to a degree. On the other hand, in that case, that was a classic turn 5, turn 6, turn 7. I'm going to send it down the outside and hope. And if you watched Montreal last time with this group, I was part of a accident in that exact same place. So Ove getting away with, not getting launched into the barriers there, I think is pretty lucky.
Yeah, just a little bit of a slippery moment, and he carries on in 12th. But Kevin now to 11th, going to try and chase down Mike up ahead. You can see, do love this paint scheme on Kevin's car, by the way. That sort of metallic sheen to it is very cool looking and just feels fantastic.
It's very beer can on a summer day, and it looks great.
I like that. I'm going to remember that description as Partonen takes another fastest lap. And bad news for Andy T fans. He has not run down Leno. They're still about 8 seconds apart from one another with 10 laps to go. So I don't think he's going to be catching him.
Anti T has fans? Anti T or Andy T? Where are we at here?
For the sake of consistency and clarity for the audience, I've just been calling him Andy.
I'm sorry, Joe. I just wanted to be a little pedantic about his origin.
The way you say that, it feels like we're talking about an origin story for some sort of superhero, but
Anti-hero.
Yeah, well played, sir. Well played. As we come over to train grade, I think for a brief moment we were looking at Parton and our leader who's just casually cruising around this track, but the Scandinavian has allowed Kevin by, but he hasn't allowed him to run away yet.
No, he certainly has not, and I've been watching it here, Joe. It's not really any mistakes out of Honorado. He is continuing to run a very, very good race. The Iberian driver just putting the car where he needs to do. It's just sheer force of will that's allowing for Ove to catch up and stay behind.
And we know Ove loves to battle in any series, any car that he is in. He doesn't really care about the win so much as just having a fun time. And another fastest lap for Parton at the front of the race. But Ove now lost a lot coming off of the Lepingle hairpin, which is a bit redundant because that just translates to hairpin. But anyways, Ove train grade, wonder if he's using up the tires a little much here.
He could be, Joe. You know, we haven't really talked all that much about the tires here. Normally, in seasons past, these tires would last through the whole race, no problem. Well, about 2-3 seasons ago, there was an update that was put onto these tires that makes them a little bit more susceptible to wear. I've actually been able to see in a couple of races where pit stops take place in these Lotus 79s and tire changes go on. So that's a real possibility that if you overdrive the car a little bit, you can lose those tires. A little bit of a blink there up ahead from Chemo. That'll be a little bit disconcerting for Timothy Vaughn. But you've got to manage the tires a little bit more than you would in these seasons past.
And a track with a lot of slow corners, slow chicanes. I'm sure it is very tough to try and keep them underneath you without spinning them up at those low speed exits. We continue to watch Vaughn on Viekainen, and looking at the lap times, Vaughn is slightly quicker, it appears. So I think he is going to start catching and have a good opportunity before this race is over.
I think he just might. This race certainly not over for the two of them. That damage to Chemo still coming back to bite him here, even with about 8 laps to go.
Don't need to go to it. We had another driver with damage that sent him into pit lane. Pep Meyer unfortunately smacked the wall out of out of turn 7, and he is now at the back of the field taking whatever repairs he can. And speaking of that wheel spin, there you go, right there. Vaughn just seeing the rear twitch as he tries to accelerate out of the Senna S.
Yeah, it's really starting to fight him there a little bit, and that could be a result of overusing the tires. It could just be a result that the tires are a little overcooked. 104 degrees Fahrenheit out on track right now. That means that track is very, very toasty, and drivers are certainly going to be struggling with that.
Right now, it seems like a lot of the drivers can focus a little more on their own race. Michael, what is going on inside the cockpit at this stage of the Lotus 79 race when everybody's kind of settled into where their pace elicits and you don't really have a fight? It's more you versus the track or you versus the car.
Please don't dump it on the brakes. Please don't dump it on the brakes. Please don't dump it on the brakes. Repeatedly. Absolutely repeatedly. It's so easy to overheat the tires exiting a corner, and you think, okay, that's just the rears, no big deal. But when you've got, you know, like turns 5, 6, and 7 that come fairly rapid fire, and you've overheated those rears, and then you come into the next corner and you go just a little bit too deep and you get that little bit of slip angle on corner entry. Well, you want to correct that by getting off the brakes and hopefully catching it on power at that point most of the time. And if you've overheated those rears, that's just not going to happen. You're just going to spin and hopefully not end up in the wall. But at Montreal, more than likely, you're going to end up in the wall.
Here's Freckleton now. We've been watching his progress on Timothy Vaughn, who was on the attack for Chemo, but has now had to switch to defense. This is that 5, 6, 7 sequence. Swinging into the left-hander, then off to the right. The infamous spot where Jenson Button took the win away from Sebastian Vettel back in 2011. But today it's not looking like we're going to quite have that sort of drama up at the front unless we get a major mistake out of the one car, who continues to hold at 8 seconds ahead of his nearest rival. But Freckleton within about 0.3 of a second and even starts to take a look, DJ.
Yeah, certainly starting to close here a little bit. I think Dylan knows that we're coming into these final 5 laps or so. He wants to get that push on now. He is going to be within draft range here. That 0.5 of a second is going to help him out. I think the 1.2 ahead from Kimo to Timothy Vaughn, that's going to be a little out of the range. So this is all going to be playing into advantage Dylan Freckleton.
We are down to 6 laps to go now. So they're running out of opportunities if they want to make something out of this. Freckleton really wants to make something out of Vaughn as he gets almost within striking range into the Senate S. But as we look back from the Brabham, he's got enough range back to him that he does not see. Oh, and was that a bit of contact for Freckleton into the wall?
I think it was, Joe. I think he just clipped it with that right outside, and look at the gap already starting to come down. It's 3/4 of a second back to Freckleton.
Oh, man, Dylan is pushing this one maybe a little too hard. There's not many chances you can get away with that. Just scrunching the car up against the concrete. Oh, and he almost gets into the gearbox of Timothy that time. These guys are fighting super hard. They got to watch out. This can go wrong in a flash.
Yeah, it certainly can. They've got to be very, very careful, but Freckleton being a little bit passive here, not wanting to send a huge dive bomb down into Lapingle. A little bit of a wider run, and the car twitches coming off of the corner.
That's not going to do him any good. Let's stay here, but a quick update on Topi Kortaniemi after his opening lap wreck. He is up to 14th, but it looks like that's as high as he's going to go unless somebody else has a mistake. Down into the braking of the Wall of Champions. Vaughn ahead of Freckleton. Freckleton now with Rasimas behind him in the number 8. This is becoming a 3-way fight.
Yeah, indeed it is. Mike Rasmus just slowly but surely reeling these drivers in. He has been a very, very calm, considerate driver today, just waiting for everything to peel off, and this could be his chance to maybe move up into a good spot.
Freckleton behind, still just hounding him at every corner. And then Mike in the number 8 also hoping that something will come of it. And speaking of the differences around the world, we have 3 very different time zones represented right here. Vaughn hailing from the Australia-New Zealand club, Freckleton out of the UK and I, and then Mike out of Club New York over on the East Coast here in the US. Great exit by Dylan. Not sure he's going to be able to make it happen here. He's going to try anyways.
Whoa, that is a big send from Dylan Freckleton and loses a little bit at the exit of the corner. That's going to allow for Rasmus to be able to come in here with the attack.
Just too greedy. Unfortunately, the car couldn't handle it, and he's paying dearly now. Here comes Mike in the number 8, round the outside, fully past him by the braking zone. Now he sets his sights forward on Timothy.
Yes, he does. So he's going to have a little bit more room to be able to do P9 for Rasmus. That's up 8 on the day. A great run for him. If it wasn't for Andy T, he would be the highest mover.
So one more. Can he make it 9 here with only 4 laps to go? Mike's not had a perfect day. He's had his own issues out there. And certainly didn't have the qualifying that he wanted. But as he approaches on the back, coming into the braking of 6, gets it down to about 0.6 of a second between himself and Timothy Vaughn. And in front of it all, Kimo Viikainen just keeps egging them on to battle, hoping that they'll slow up in pace so that he doesn't have to lose yet more positions in the final couple laps.
Yeah, indeed, that's really what he wants to have happen, but I'm not sure if that's going to break the way Kimo wants it to, as it does look like Rasmus continues to close down here a little bit. Kimo...
Oh, he spun it up. Yeah, he spun the tires up, and that is going to be an easy pass for Timothy Vaughn. It wasn't his damage that caught him out. It was his own driving, but he's going to come back at him, and somehow is faster. How is he faster off the corner? It's going to be a game of late braking down into the Wall of Champions, and Kimo wins out on that. It slows up Vaughn so much that Rossimos is now there. Freckleton thinks maybe he can get involved. Are we going to go 3 wide? No. They box out Dylan. Down to the inside goes Mike, and unfortunately, no, he's going to keep with it. Can he make this stick? It's going to carry off the corner, and another opportunity opens up for Dylan Freckleton. Down into turn 3, absolutely chucks it in, and that gives him 9th.
Whoa, a big explosion of action there, Joe, but absolutely electric stuff. Great patience, great heads up from Dylan Freckleton to be able to get that position back.
And Kimo, too, as well. I thought for sure, oh no, as soon as he's under attack on a long straight, that's it. How in the world did he suddenly find speed? That was bizarre.
He gave a few extra crackers to the raccoons and back, and they started to go faster.
Oh, little another touch coming through 8 and 9 as Vaughn just rebuffs Freckleton, edging him out, and Mike is not able to capitalize on that. And here comes Kevin Honorado, who is probably loving what he's seen in front of him because he's been hoping to get a few more spots to make up for his issue coming out of turn 4 earlier in this race.
Yeah, indeed he is, and this has really allowed him to be able to pull back into the back of this battle as they're going to cross over the line here with only 2 laps to go. Everybody knowing it's go time. Rasmus looking like he's got a pretty good run on Freckleton. He's going to dive it down to the inside. Thinks better of it.
Oh, but that slow run through there brings in Kevin even more. For a brief moment, they finally get to relax as they fly towards the Senna S. Kimo still holding them all at arm's length. Vaughn being caught back up by Freckleton as well with 2 laps to go. They really have dwindling chances to try and make big attacks. They have to get right on top of those gearboxes.
Yeah, indeed they do. It is now push, push, push time for all of these drivers, and rest assured they know it, Joe. Not going to get anything done there going down into that sequence. Ooh, a little bit offline in the back was Rasmus. That could put him into position to be attacked there by Kevin Honorado.
Kevin following him in the slipstream down into turn 8. He's not able to attack this time, but he could have a chance down into Lapingle. Nope, just doesn't get the corner exit on him. He is going to really have to push this as there goes Freckleton. There's no way this is going to work. Vaughn's going to give him space regardless, and he out-accelerates him off the corner. Dylan is nothing if not ambitious.
Yeah, I'll give him that. He is willing to chuck that car in. They all streak down past the rowing lake here, ready to take the white flag. Only 1 lap to go, Joe.
Whew. And Partanen is pushing. I just went over to him, and he had a big slide coming through turn 6. I don't know if he's just hot dogging or if the car is starting to get loose there, but he's got an 11-second lead. He doesn't need to give it away now.
No, he certainly doesn't. He just needs to drive this last lap calm, cool, and collected. Doesn't need to go too hard. I mean, look how far ahead he is of everybody else. He's already working his way through the hairpin here.
He's already lapped Nathan Finnegan, but has not caught up to Barry West. 17 finishers here today. Not bad for this track, frankly. I expected a lot more to wind up at the wayside. So Pauli Partanen, we asked if anybody could stop him or if we would change the order of things here at Montreal. He's given us a no. He is going to continue to plunge forward and dominate the field here in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series by taking a win at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, commanding drive there for Pauli Partanen. As we jump back here, Sergio Fernandez maybe trying to close down on Karthik Pai, steal a 5th place away as they go down past the rowing lake. Karthik trying to do a little bit of weaving to break that draft.
Oh, wow. Great straight line speed off to the right-hand side. Sends it in deep. He's got to accelerate well off the corner. This isn't over. And it looks good to me unless he's got a tremendous run. And no, he does not. Pai is going to be able to take a top 5 behind them. How about Kimmo Viekainen getting that 7th place after all he went through? But it might be a change of place at the line. No, it looks like Freckleton beat out Rossimos. And it was barely by 0.02 of a second between them.
And just behind them, you had Kevin taking a huge hit into the Wall of Champions and losing 2 spots to Ove and Liakata behind him.
Oh, that is gutting right at the end. Barry West is the last one to come around, but we're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Watch from Nathan's view. Wow. Wow. Cat-like reflexes.
Oh goodness, Sebastian Coffre, another mistake for him, and he is a sitting duck down the front stretch here with the double draft here for Overbay and Ritters. Are they going to make it 3 wide? Ritters goes for it on Overbay, while Overbay goes for it on Coffre. Up the inside, coming into Doohan corner, and Coffre might have to yield here. He's already lost the place to Overbay. He's going to switch to the outside and try and widen the entry to keep Ritters behind him. Looks like he is going to do that. Late apex, and that will work out all right for Sebastian Coffre, but it's slim pickings at the moment for the number 28.
Welcome back to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, round 7 here in the Sunday Grand Prix Series has Pauli Partanen take the win over Micheleno. He inherited that second place, really, but honestly, he made good on that, and it was never threatened throughout the rest of the race. As Andy T and the anti-T accounts wound up in third after intentionally starting from the back of the field. Paul Williams just outside the podium here today in fourth. Karthik Pai continuing to rack up those good results. Another top 5 for him. Wonder at what point he's going to start to threaten for the podium position. Sergio Fernandez was 6th and Kimmo Väyäkinen 7th. After that, Timothy Vaughn was 8th ahead of Dylan Freckleton, who barely beat out Rossimos to the line, rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Ove Trangrate, followed by Gilles Lucada, with Kevin Honorado and Topi Kortanemi back in 14th. Pablo Suarez was 15th, followed by Barry West, the last driver on a lead lap, with Nathan Finnegan 1 lap down, Pep Meyer, Timothy Reed, and Yuka Tolanen all DNFs on the day.
That's going to be taking us to our interviews. And first up, I believe we have Andy T with us, but let's see how his finish is. Andy, I don't know what the Finnish word for welcome and congratulations is, but a podium from 20th, not too shabby.
Yeah, the only Finnish words I really know are like not really broadcastable. So yeah, let's not do that. I'm quite satisfied with that. I mean, I knew I had to run a set that basically had no wing on it. Everyone else appeared to have missed that memo, and whilst they were 10th or 2 faster at the front, the race previous to this, Pauli was just 3 tenths behind me the entire race and couldn't do anything, which frankly is boring. So I thought, why not backstart?
So how long have you had this alt account? Kudos on that, because it's very clever, and I'm impressed you even managed to get the Finnish club with it.
I don't know, like 6 months to a year, maybe. It's basically the account I use when I'm being a baby and don't want to lose my 7,000 iRating. And it's nice to show up when we're in team events with us all being Finnish.
And that makes sense. I mean, I honestly don't blame you. I don't think you're being a baby for wanting to hold on to a 7K I rating. But up to third next week, we head out to, I believe it's, and I lost it on my schedule. Here it is, Detroit. Oh, boy. An even crazier street course. Are you going to be there?
No, because I like my wrists to remain intact. No, for reals, I'm busy. I'm busy personal stuff that weekend, so I won't be around.
Well, bit of a shame. Understandable, though. I'm sure if you got a direct drive wheel, that is a nightmare of a circuit. Again, congratulations. Any shout outs before you head out?
Yeah, like I've done a couple of back starts this week, and honestly, the driving standards need some work. I know everyone says this series is clean, but like, there are people that are in desperate need of help. I'm here. I'll help you. Send me a PM. I'm available for coaching. And then you can not hit me on a straight. Fantastic. Hoops, as usual, you're the worst. Fam, you're the best. Thanks, you guys, for the broadcast. And congrats, Pauli. Good win, mate.
Andy T. And listen to that. He's a friendly guy. You just got to go and talk to him, and he'll help you be faster. But our winner, DJ, has caught up with Pauli Partanen.
I have indeed, Powley. From the drop of the green flag, it looked like you were in total command of that race. Talk me through that one.
Yeah, I had very good race this week, so I was very happy with my speed, and I got the fastest lap, pole and win. So that's the dream.
Knocking it out of the park. Talk to me a little bit about setup. We just heard Andy talking about really trimming out the car. Were you favoring that as well, or were you going for a little bit more downforce mixed in?
Yeah, I went the other way. I had more downforce than Andy had, so I think Andy had the better setup, but because he was not near me, he was not able to keep me behind like in the previous race. So this was quite easy for me. But if Andy would have took the qualification lap, then maybe this will be a second place for me, most likely.
Well, gotcha. We head to Montreal next. Andy saying or not Montreal. We head to Detroit next. Andy saying he may back down out of that one. How are you feeling about that tight and twisty street circuit?
Well, I don't really like those twisted circuits, but I will be there, of course. So let's see.
Well, we'll see. Indeed, Paulie, another win on the season. Anybody you'd like to thank today?
Thanks, Jukka, for coming finally. I was waiting for you for many weeks. And thanks for you guys. Great broadcast as always. And see you next week.
We will see you next week. That was Paulie Partonen, your winner here today.
And finally, we have fourth place finisher Paul Williams ready to talk to us just outside the podium. That's got to be a little bit frustrating, I'm sure, Paul, thinking you got a third place potentially, and then suddenly Andy comes up from the back.
Yeah, he's a pain in the backside, isn't he? I suspected either he'd crash out or he'd catch me up. And then when I seen him on the relative, I thought, okay, here we go. But yeah, I'm not going to keep him behind and not going to risk crashing. But yeah, it's a good result. I think, what did I start? 7th or something? I'll take that.
Yeah, some of it helped, of course, by the wreck at the start. This track kind of known for especially first corner pileups where things just all crunch together. Were you taking extra care there to try and make sure you made it out the other side?
Yeah, I'm always a bit too careful on the opening laps, to be honest with you. But you can't hang back too much, obviously, because you're in a pack. But yeah, I was ashamed to see the guys go out in a way, but I'll take the freebies as it is.
No doubt, and I'm sure the handy haul of points helping you out. But next week, you got another one where it's a track that'll easily bite those who lose focus with Detroit. Is that one you feel like you're going to need a lot of practice for, even though the 79s have been there plenty of times?
Oh, yeah, definitely. My wrists hurt after this one, so that's going to be a nightmare. Turn the force feedback right down. And it's doable. I think Andy should race and not use his alternate account. I think he should, risk using his normal account on that one. That would be good fun.
Love the back and forth that some of the drivers in this have. Before you head out, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, give a shout out to Barry and Team Wolf. I think Team Wolf are on the up. We're getting some good points recently. Just need Barry to get a few more up there. And I'd like to thank actually you guys for doing the broadcast, but also the community for supporting the broadcast all the time as well. And Peter for organising that. He does a great job every year. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. We love getting to call this series. And that was Paul Williams with a 4th place today, as he mentioned, starting from 7th. So that is not too bad. Well, that's going to wrap us up. So, of course, we want to thank the 79 community ourselves for bringing us back for another season of coverage, but also the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for both great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Ryan, Dougie, and Michael. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And check out our merchandise stores, gsrc.storenv.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we mentioned, from a week from now, we're going to be going to Detroit. That'll be Sunday, May 8th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Not too far away from here, frankly. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And in just a few minutes, we're off of the Absolute Beginners League at another Canadian track, Mosport. That'll be 2 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.